I spent years working towards the title of CEO, and when you hear that title, you probably picture a corner office, C-suite, a PA, a big team handling all the details. But I wasn't running a FTSE 100 company. I was running small charities. Being the boss didn't mean I did less. I did everything. The strategy, the fundraising, the human resource management, the leaking roof, everything ended up at my door. All roads led to me. On paper, I was a success story, but in reality, I was in a trap. I'd achieved the grand-sounding title, but in truth, I was pretty miserable. This isn't just a resignation story, and it certainly isn't a woe is me, feel sorry for Lucy, get out the tiny violin moment. This is my attempt to help anyone who suspects that their dream job, something they've been working towards for years, has become a nightmare. My name's Lucy, and if you're new here, you're very welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I led 2 different charities over several years, and in that world, the mission is everything. You care so deeply about the cause that you forget that you're a human being with human limits. It's a specific kind of pressure. There's no corporate machine to hide behind. If a grant application fails, that's on you. If the board wants answers about something, they turn to you. If a staff member is in crisis, it's you that has to help them. Of course, being in this position, being chief exec of an organisation is a huge honour, and I don't want you to think I feel sorry for myself. But what I do want to think about is the downside of that responsibility, because it was a heavy responsibility on my shoulders. One of the organisations I led was in financial difficulties, which had existed before I arrived. I spent years working my socks off to turn that organisation around in the full knowledge that if I failed, 25 people would lose their jobs and the work that that organisation did would come to an end. When I look back now, what I realise is that I was slowly suffocating under the weight of all of that responsibility, of being involved in all of the decisions, having to have all of the answers. The burnout I experienced didn't happen because I was lazy. It happened because for too long I worked too many hours with very few boundaries. Because we were experiencing financial difficulties, I would spend all my waking hours running through numbers in my head, thinking about that grant application. If we get that, well, what if we lose that? And endlessly calculating different permutations. Eventually, I realised that something had to give. I couldn't go on like that. I had to find a way to let go and move on. Quitting was terrifying. So much of our identity is wrapped up in our job title. And for me, achieving what I'd achieved was something I'd worked for years, if not decades. I had to grieve the version of me that believed that title meant I'd finally made it. But the second I handed in my notice, something shifted. I felt a deep sense of relief. I'd made a choice to go for uncertainty rather than that continuing misery, and it was a first vital step for me in getting my life back. If you're in a role that looks good on paper but feels awful to live, here are 3 rules for a midlife pivot. Number 1, sanity is a key performance indicator. Sacrificing your nervous system is not an acceptable sacrifice in my book. If the only way to succeed is to sacrifice your mental health, then it's the role that is broken, not you. No noble mission is worth running yourself into the ground for. Number 2, you're not too late. We're sold this idea that by our 40s or 50s, everything should be settled. But by midlife, you actually know yourself better. You know what you're not prepared to tolerate. That's not a crisis. It's information that you can use. And number 3, redefine the win. Success isn't a job title that other people envy. Success is waking up without a knot in your stomach. It's liking the person that you are when you're not holding everything together for everybody else. I traded that CEO title for freedom, and I haven't looked back. If you're living with that Sunday dread, endless spreadsheets whirring around in your brain every waking hour, you're not alone, and I want you to know that. If any part of this resonated for you, If you're the chief everything officer in your own life, let me know in the comments. I read every single one, and I want you to know you're not the only one feeling this way. I also get so many ideas from what people tell me about their experiences to help me plan future videos that are truly useful to you all. So don't forget to subscribe if you're not already, to make sure you don't miss anything. I know quitting isn't as simple as just walking out the door today. If you know you need to leave, but you don't know how to start untangling yourself, then I recommend that you watch this video next, which I'll link to in the comments as well. It breaks down a practical 3 to 6 month escape plan so that you can move on without blowing up your career or your finances. And if you're still not sure about whether you should stay or whether you should go, then I've linked to my downloadable workbook below, which might help you figure things out. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.